Prithvi Narayan Saha had three sons. According to the genealogy, the eldest Pratap Singh Shah, then Bahadur Shah and Narayan Saha. Due to the death of his youngest son Narayan Saha, Bahadur Shah is traditionally called the youngest. Born in Gorkha, Gandaki, Nepal on 16th April 1751 to Prithvi Narayan Saha and Narendra Laxmi Devi, Pratap Singh Shah was the second king of Nepal. He was the eldest son of Prithvi Narayan Saha. He became king at the age of 24 in 12th January 1775. Pratap Singh Shah married Rajendra Laxmi Devi. He did not actively participate in the unification campaign led by his father, and the boundaries of Nepal kept extending as his brother Prince Bahadur Shah continued the unification campaign during his reign. He was more involved in the royal luxuries rather than the unification campaign. He concluded a commercial treaty with Tibet in September 1775. He settled the dispute with Tibet over the counterfeited Nepali coins peacefully. Pratap Singh was very interested in Tantrism. With the help of Nepali scholar, he wrote a book called Puracharya Nava. He made for the first time the costume of erecting a linga or pillar in the Indrajatra festival at Hanuman Dokha. He stabilized trade with Tibet and India. He took Chitwan under his control when the British tried to capture Mysore. During his time, places like Bhubaneswar, Kavilasi, Vijaypur, Tanhu, and Sumeswar were merged into Nepal. But without thinking, he detained his brother Bahadur Shah and his uncle Dal Mardan Shah on the charge of ascending the throne. Not being able to trust his own brother Bahadur Shah was his biggest mistake. Bahadur Shah was very popular inside the Gorkha palace in the early days. Wherever Prithvi Narayan Saha went, Bahadur Shah also reached there with his father. Prithvi Narayan Saha won Kathmandu. He then assigned Pratap Singh Shah to look after Kathmandu. He kept Bahadur Shah with him. Records of how popular Bahadur Shah was can be found in the Basantapur Darbar. It states that Bahadur Shah, one of the two sons of Prithvi Narayan Shah, is very popular. Meanwhile, one group advised Pratap Singh Shah to be suspicious of his brother. When Prithvi Narayan Shah died in 1775 AD, Bahadur Shah was only 17 years old. Meanwhile, the king became Pratap Singh Shah. Believing the rumors, Bahadur Shah was kept in custody less than 13 days after Prithvi Narayan Shah's death. Later, Bahadur Shah was sent to Bettiah, India. He was deported on charge of conspiracy. Bahadur Shah, who was still in Bettiah, also wrote a letter to his brother stating that he had not conspired anything against him. After reigning for 2 years and 10 months, Pratap Singh Shah passed away by excessive bleeding on 17 November 1777 in Kathmandu, Nepal, at the age of 26. He was succeeded by his 2-year-old son, Rana Bahadur Shah. Pratap Singh Shah's final rites were done by Daljit Shah. Bahadur Shah did not get the chance to do it because of his exile. After the death of Pratap Singh Shah, his son Rana Bahadur Shah was made king. Queen Rajendra Laxmi, in the name of Rana Bahadur Shah, led the second phase of Nepal's unification during her 8-year tenure. After the death of Pratap Singh Shah, Pandit Vajranath wanted to rule in the name of the child king by sending Sati to Rajendra Laxmi. Rani Rajendra Laxmi wrote a letter to Chautaria, Dal Mardan Shah and Bahadur Shah to come back to Kathmandu to strengthen her power. As long as Pratap Singh Shah was alive, Bahadur Shah could not return to Nepal. Thus, in 1777 AD, Bahadur Shah returned to Nepal. Together, Queen Rajendra Laxmi and her brother-in-law Bahadur Shah ruled the state for 6 months. Later, there was no reconciliation between brother-in-law and the queen. Bahadur Shah began to think of conquering 22 and 24 states. In the meantime, the quarrel began between Rajendra Laxmi and Bahadur Shah. Rajendra Laxmi always suspected that Bahadur Shah would take the revenge for the harm done to him by her husband Pratap Singh Shah. Bahadur Shah modernized the army and collected arms and ammunition. Rajendra Laxmi strongly opposed the work of Bahadur Shah. So, with the help of Sarbjit Rana, she suddenly arrested and imprisoned Bahadur Shah. But sometime later, with the request of Guru Gajraj Mishra, Bahadur Shah was freed. Bahadur Shah again began to start the work of administration. Then he arrested Rajendra Laxmi and killed Sarbjit Rana. Bahadur Shah turned his attention to the expansion in the west. He gave order to Bangsha Raj Pandey to attack Tanahu. Bangsha Raj Pandey attacked and captured Sur, the capital of Tanahu. The Gorkhali commander continued his counterattack on March 1779 AD. The combined Chaubisi army attacked Someshwar and got victory. Hearing that news, Bahadur Shah reached there, attacked Someshwar and captured it. Meanwhile, Rajendra Laxmi came to power with the help of Balabhadra Shah, son of Muhaddam Kirti Shah. The queen took the whole responsibility of administration at the region. Bahadur Shah was removed from power once again by heavy conspiracy. Bahadur Shah became helpless. He went to Betia again. The states of Kaski, Tanahu and Lamjung were merged into Nepal under the military campaign led by Queen Rajendra Laxmi. Queen Rajendra Laxmi had saved the joint attack of the 24 states and extended the border of Nepal to Kaligandaki. She is seen as an efficient administrator in advancing Prithvinarayan Shah's unification campaign. She also rode a horse to the battlefield. Queen Rajendra Laxmi was probably the most powerful woman in the history of Nepal. Rajendra Laxmi is considered to be the first heroine of Nepal. After Rajendra Laxmi died of tuberculosis in 1785 AD, Bahadur Shah returned to Nepal and came to power. Bahadur Shah made Nuwakot his capital. Bahadur Shah took a hardline approach to unification, offering one of the options to the state's king and princess: either accept Gorkha sovereignty while continuing to rule themselves, or battle to the death. Many minor states accepted annexation with notable resistance from Jumla and Doti. The king of Jumla, Sovan Shahi, fled to China, later assisting China in Sino-Nepalese War, whereas the king of Doti fell to British India and assisted them in the Anglo-Nepalese War. Prince Bahadur Shah married the sister of King Prithvipal Sen of the mighty Palpa kingdom of the western Nepal. With the help of Palpa, Bahadur Shah sent troops under the leadership of Kazi Jeev Shah, Kazi Damodar Pandey, Kazi Jagjit Pandey, Rajbhandari, Sardar Amar Singh Thapa, Subba Jognarayan Malla, Prabal Rana, etc. The Nepali army, which advanced in 1786 AD May, conquered Gulmi on 21st May, Agra on 7th September, Khanchi on 9th September, and Parbat on 26th September. After this, Turkot, Galkot, Musikot, Isma, Dang, Putan, and Rolpa were all conquered, and the areas up to Veri River were integrated till November that same year. According to the treaty made with Palpa, even though half of the territory was to be given, only Arga, Khanchi, and Gulmi were given to the states Palpa, and the rest of the territory was merged into Nepal. Jajarkot was forced to submit rupees 7,000 Kyas and their troops. Nepal reached the very river. While Bahadur Shah was intensifying his campaign for unification in western region, a war broke out between Nepal and Tibet in 1788 AD, and some army officer, including Damodar Pandey, got involved in the war with Tibet. In 1789 AD, an army led by Shiv Narayan Khatri invaded Jumla on its way to Muktinath through a mountainous region and conquered Jumla with the help of Sardar Kalu Pandey and Bhakti Thapa. When Sardar Bhakti Thapa and Kalu Pandey attacked Daily, the king fled while King Uttam Saha of Dallu accepted the Nepal sovereignty and sided with Amar Singh Thapa. But the Bazhangi king also accepted Nepal's subjugation and agreed to pay an annual sum of rupees 500. After that, the army led by Amar Singh Thapa crossed the Karnali river and conquered the kingdoms of Acham and Doti, and the western border of Nepal reached the Mahakali River. Tibet had been using Nepalese silver coin since the time of Malla kings. When Prithvi Narayan Saha of the Gorkha kingdom launched an economic blockade on the Kathmandu Valley during his unification campaign, Jaya Prakash Malla of Kathmandu faced an economic crisis which Jaya Prakash Malla tried to alleviate by minting low-quality coins mixed with copper. After Prithvi Narayan Shah successfully conquered the Kathmandu Valley in 1769 AD and firmly established the rule of Saha dynasty in Nepal, he reverted to minting pure silver coins. But by then, the damage to the confidence of the Nepalese minted coins had already been done. The Tibetans demanded that all the impure coins in circulation be replaced by pure silver ones, a demand that would place a huge financial burden on the newly founded Shah dynasty. Prithvi Narayan Saha was not willing to bear such a huge loss in a matter for which he was not even responsible. He was willing to vouch for the purity of the newly minted coins. Thus, two kinds of coins were in circulation in the market. The case remained unresolved due to the death of Prithvi Narayan Saha in 1775 AD, and the problem was inherited by the successive rulers of Nepal. By 1788, Bahadur Shah, the youngest son of Prithvi Narayan Saha and the uncle and regent of the minor king Rana Bahadur Shah, had inherited an aggravated coinage problem. On the plea of debased coin, Tibet had started to spread rumors that it was in a position to attack Nepal, and the Nepalese merchants in Tibet were likewise harassed. Another sore point in Nepal-Tibet relationship was Nepal's decision to provide refuge to the 10th Samarpa Lama Mipam Chodru Gyatso and his 14 Tibetan followers. He had fled from Tibet to Nepal on religious and political grounds. Yet another cause for conflict was the low quality of salt being provided by Tibetans to Nepal, since in those days all the salts in Nepal came from Tibet. A Nepalese delegation was sent to Tibet to resolve these issues. But the demands made by Nepalese were rejected by the Tibetans. The Nepalese found the quarrel over coinage a good pretext to expand their kingdom and to raid the rich monasteries in Tibet. Thus, Nepal launched multi-directional attacks on Tibet. In the year 1788 AD, Bahadur Shah sent Gorkha troops under the joint command of Damodar Pandey and Bam Shah to attack Tibet. The Gorkha troops entered Tibet through Kuti and reached as far as Tasel Humpo, about 410 km from Kuti. A fierce battle was fought at Sikhar Jong, in which the Tibetans were badly defeated. The Panchen Lama and Sakya Lama then requested the Gorkha troops to have peace talk. So the Gorkha troops left Sikhar Jong and went towards Kuti and Kerun. The Tibetans had signed the Kerun Treaty because they had no other option then. The Dalai Lama had not been able to get timely help, so he was, for the moment, ready to pay the rupees 50,000 per year tribute to come out of his difficulties. The amount was paid that year, but not the next year. Nepal took it as an insult. Bahadur Shah started preparing for the next battle with Tibet. Bahadur Shah became even more popular in Nepal, and he was hailed as a worthy son of a worthy father. As Tibet had refused to pay the tribute to Nepal, Bahadur Shah sent a troop under Abhiman Singh Basne to Kherum and another troop under the command of Damodar Pandey to Kuti in 1791 AD. Damodar Pandey attacked Digar Shah and captured the property of monasteries there. He also arrested the minister of Lhasa, Dorzen Kaji, and came back to Nepal. As soon as this news was heard by the China, the Qing dynasty sent a strong troop of 70,000 soldiers under the leadership of Phúc Angam to defend Tibet. Thus, in the year 1792, the Nepal Tibet War turned into a war between Nepal and the Qing Empire of China. Chinese army had reached Lhasa to help Tibet against Nepal on 8 March 1792. The joint enemy force attacked Nepal at a difficult time. Most of the Nepalese troops were engaged in the Western Unification campaign. On the top of that, they were busy crossing revolt lines in Acham, Doti, and Jumla. Only a limited number of surplus soldiers were available to fight against the Chinese invaders. The last battle was fought on 5th October 1792. The Treaty of Bataroti on 2nd October 1792 was concluded and the war was over. In the Nepal China War, China defeated Nepal badly. Nepal was forced to sign the Bataroti Treaty with China. This treaty made Nepal almost as a protected state of China. As King Rana Bahadur Shah reached the age of 18, the flatterers of the court, who were against unification, began to raise the king against Bahadur Shah. Rana Bahadur Shah began to think that he should rule himself and take action against Bahadur Shah. Rana Bahadur Shah wanted to be in power alone. Bahadur Shah and Rana Bahadur Shah had a falling out when there was a dispute over the independence of the Gulmi kingdom and the appointment of Siddhi Pratap Shah as a king. The post of Chautaria to Bidur Shahi and Sher Bahadur Shahi, and the appointment of Kantivati as a wife of Rana Bahadur. In the year 1794 AD, when King Rana Bahadur Shah attained the age of 20 years, he removed Bahadur Shah from the regency and began to rule personally. In course of time, Rana Bahadur Shah increased the land revenue in the country, which was opposed by the people. Bahadur Shah also opposed it. So the king Rana Bahadur Shah became angry with Bahadur Shah. The king Rana Bahadur Shah asked Bahadur Shah to submit the account of the Nepal Tibet War expenses. Bahadur Shah needed some time to do it, which he was not even given. Bahadur Shah also corresponded with China about his visit to Peking. Bahadur Shah was accused of spending more on these wars. For the same reason, Bahadur Shah was taken prisoner near Bishnumati. While in jail, hot oil was sprinkled on his body under the direction of then King Rana Bahadur Shah. Bahadur Shah's wife was abused. He was made upset and was told what had happened. He was accused of killing Rajendra Laxmi by mixing poison in her food. While in captivity, he could not eat, sleep, talk, or visit his relatives. In 1797 AD, June 24, Prince Bahadur Shah was secretly assassinated on Saturday night. The murder was probably committed by strangulation. However, his body was cremated at Pasupati, Aryaghat before the morning. Bahadur Shah's death was announced on June 25, 1797 AD. He was reported dead in China as due to diarrhea, whereas to the Indian company, it was reported that he had fallen seriously ill and died. Bahadur Shah's death was not made public. His funeral was not even conducted in a stately manner. He was only 40 years at the time of his death. Such was the sad end of a true patriot and a great warrior. Thank you.